start the whole discussion from scratch in a second. So hello and welcome to Roastrum. My name is Jane. I'm super happy to host amazing panelists today with that hot topic that we're going to discuss. And today we're going to discuss how to build a strong brand in specialty coffee industry. And we're going to discuss this with people who actually did this successfully and have world-recognized brands in coffee. So today we host Patrik from April Coffee Roasters, Joanna from Drop Coffee Roasters, and Jon from Onyx Coffee Club in the US. And yes, this is probably when I need to hand over to you and ask you to quickly introduce yourself, but what's even more important, how did you start the brand that was successful and great right now? So I would hand over it to Joanna.
Yes. No, thanks for having us. This is amazing, and everyone tuning in. It's really nice we can connect. So I am Joanna Alm from Stockholm. I'm the managing director and 50% owner in Drop Coffee Roasters. We started in 2009, and very much like you see the brand, it is Drop Coffee. So it started off with that we were like a brick in the wall, wanting to brew a lot of filter coffee, just like you would in a wine bar. You would order wines. You didn't just order a black coffee, or in that case, a red glass of wine. Like you actually had a particular coffee. So we wanted to really focus on making drip coffee, so brewed by hand, and from that, combined with an idea of that we wanted to start roasting. We didn't roast at the very beginning, but we wanted to start roasting that when you kind of let out the coffee, you have you're dropping out the coffee. And in Swedish, you also say like a kaffetår, like a teardrop of coffee. Like, should we grab a tear of coffee? You actually say, should we grab a drop of coffee? So, or would you like one? So it's coming from there. And I just think like sometimes, when something sings well, you like it. So that's us.
Thank you, Joanna. So handing over to Patrik.
I'm going to try to unmute myself first. Patrik, founder of April, moved to Copenhagen 4 years ago now, specifically to start April. Didn't have any connections with Copenhagen whatsoever, just liked the city. Spent some time in 2 very good roasteries before that, Gothenburg, Damateo, and in Berlin, Five Elephant. And ended up starting a roastery basically because as I think a lot of people do to start a coffee roastery or any kind of business, you have a need to express something, and sometimes that's difficult to do in another person's company. So for me, it was kind of a tool to show my version of coffee. So moved to Copenhagen, basically isolated myself in a tiny little city outside of Malmö in Sweden for 6 months. Left girlfriend, family, everyone behind, and then set everything up and started a company. It took about 1 month from when I quit my job in Berlin to start the company here in Copenhagen. I had my first roast day about 1 month exactly after I started. So quite of a quick process. I'm a big believer in trying and learning as we go. So I don't spend too much time planning stuff. I make sure things happen, and then I fix them if needed afterwards. So, yeah, that's about it.
Very agile approach, iterative, incremental.
Pretty much, yeah.
Amazing. Thank you. So hand it over to Jon.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm Jon Allen, founder of Onyx Coffee, along with my partner, Andrea. We are about a decade old. And as far as sort of positional go, I was the green buyer for a majority of that time, although now I have children and it's a little bit harder to travel as much as I used to. So I spent about the first 8 years, half that time traveling internationally looking for coffees, and now find myself more in a creative role based here within the company through architecture and branding and things like that we're trying to do. Onyx was sort of a brainchild that formed out of a little bit of frustration for us. We, both my wife and I, we had grown up in coffee. We're baristas all our lives, and just wanted to sort of start a company that was coffee for coffee people, for the industry itself. And so that's kind of how Onyx sort of started. We started, roasting and sending coffees to baristas and roasters and people that we respected and still respect now. And we're just a huge fan of the industry. So, we're always really, really excited to just meet people that work in coffee. We think they're the greatest people in the world. And it's just a great day every day, to be in this industry. So it's an honor to be here. Thank you.
Thank you, Jon. So I think it's a good time to have a look at the results as a majority of our participants responded. And the question was, what are the top 3 activities most influencing building a strong brand in specialty coffee industry? So having a look, there is a big spread, but still the majority would select 2 answers, which is high quality roasting recognized by world professionals and sustainable. I think the top 3 answer is having a brand store and coffee shop with excellent service and product. That's quite interesting and intriguing. And this is what I want to ask you, on your opinion. What are the factors that really influenced the way your brand is recognized today? And if I could hand it over to Patrik, maybe to you. You have all what's selected by the participants. So, on your opinion, what's driving the success of April? What makes it so recognizable?
I mean, first of all, we can discuss whether or not it's successful and how you measure a successful company, right? I mean, Instagram followers is a poor way to measure whether a company is successful or not, right? We're successful in the sense that I can do the coffee I want to do, and I mean that's about it, right? And what have defined me being able to do the coffee I want to do? I mean, we've been having a great team, small team from the beginning. We haven't worked with we haven't compromises along the way, basically. And I mean, it's really up to other people to define that, right? Because it's, to some degree, it's the fans or the audience or the buyers of your coffee that makes you successful, right? We're just very happy that people are kind enough to buy our coffee. But I like to believe it's some kind of, it's definitely an idea about trying to define quality. We don't compromise. We have a very clear perspective on how we do things. We have been trying to add something new to the table, something that I've asked myself very early on, and I still do quite regularly, is, you have to be honest with the fact that the world doesn't need you, the industry doesn't need you. So, we don't need more coffee roasteries, we don't need more coffee shops. So if you still want to add a coffee roastery or a coffee shop to that equation, you should try to do that in a way that is creating some form of new value. Now that value can be a lot of different things, right? There's not really any right or wrongs, but I think it's a useful question. And I think perhaps asking us that question regularly has been helpful in that process. Yes.
So do you define April as successful and recognized brand?
I define April successful to the extent that, as I said before, like I'm allowed to do what I want to do. And for me, that's success. Like that's all I wanted with starting a company. I had no financial goals. I didn't have specific markets I want to be in. I started a roastery to roast the coffee I want to roast, and I'm able to do that. So from that perspective, it's successful. I mean, that being said, we could probably do a lot more things to become better and bigger and more recognized in the industry. So I let other people define that, right? But I'm happy as long as we can do what I want to do, and the day we can't do what I want to do is the day I'm not in this company, right? So let's see what the future will brings.
Thank you. Jon, what about you? What is a successful recognized brand for you? How would you define it? And what brought you to having one?
To define success, I think to go on top of what Patrik said is really hard to quantify. I think for us, it's that, we're still here, that we are maintaining the relationships, that we are growing within our community and within our staff itself. That has always been sort of the goal. I mean, it is still a little bit surprising to me that we are still here. We tend to think of ourselves as a very small sort of family-run company, and as we get larger and larger, it doesn't really change the mindset of what you have. And so I don't know. I think if we were to say what the factors really are at what kind of influences that, I would echo that. I think risk and emphatic commitment to whatever your company's ethos is, whether that's quality or sustainability or branding, or maybe it's just the community that you're in yourself. But any of that sort of all or nothing emphatic approach, I think has, at least for us, has worked. I don't think going half-assed really works very well when starting the business, unless there's something to fall back on. And it takes a lot of commitment from that idea. So once you kind of form that emphatic idea in your mind, I think it's easier to function, because whether it's design or your approach to roasting or sourcing or anything, everything has sort of a guideline to follow. And it becomes a really nice ethos and kind of a holistic area to work within. And that can come from the culture of your staff to, again, your approach to roasting or coffee itself. So I think finding that emphatic kind of mindset is important from the beginning.
Thank you. Joanna, how about you? I mean, Drop is a success, period. But what really makes it get it there? What's on your opinion over those 12 years made it the way it is right now?
No, I mean, I second a lot that we're three small businesses here, family driven. I run mine with my partner or co-own. I run everything. But it's so clear that everything is coming from what we want to do and whether we want to do it or not. The first 5 years was, for me, was all about kind of what Jon is saying, just creating what you wanted to do, what you thought the industry, rather within the industry, wanted, without thinking that way. We rather wanted to focus on everyone to drink better coffee, and to increase, in my case, to make Swedish coffee better and raise the bar for that. But I would say that my first 5 years was all about flavor. It was all about, I want to roast the way I do want. I like this fruity driven coffees. I love acidity, and just not doing any blends, doing omni roast, whether you like it or not. It was the way that I wanted to do it. And that kind of taste profile that we were striving for, and had goals that were super important internally and for our staff and for our culture. But I never really seen it as a marketing thing per se. But at the other hand, none of that like everything we are. Like it's our DNA. It's what we are and what we stand for, right? And then I think like 5 years later, it came to me when I more wanted to do the same thing about the coffees we're sourcing and like taking that. And that was again, like that wasn't about the market. That was more about what you want to do and what you find on the top of the agenda, the most important. So yeah, it's hard to say that yes we are successful or not, but I do like only roast coffees that I love myself and from producers I love, and that makes my life happy. And same with Patrik, what he's saying, like no, nobody needs us. Like we're lucky to be able to do this, and like we're working hard. And when you come to the point where you actually like can take out the salary, you can have your staff, you can have the agreements you want, but step by step, like it's always is a priority list, and about working hard. And then when you have a little profit, make sure like what's your top priorities that you want to do with that. So
it sounds like if you do the things you love the way you love it, and you're not compromise on anything, you can have a great success.
Yeah, I'm not sure it's a great success. Like I could also look at my first 8 years and say that, would anybody like have measured that as success or happiness? Like I was, but it's nothing saying that is the recipe or the right way to go. And there are so many ways where you could measure scale or measure impact and social impact or local impact where you are. But I think it's, I was going to say it's a lot about, for me, the decision making have been a lot about being true to myself more than to try to put something on a stamp or a branding.
I wanted to move to a different topic. I'm hearing it also from all of you that sustainable sourcing, the right approach, is a good approach into collaboration across the coffee chain is playing a big role. When did you start? When did you come to this understanding? When did you start to pay even more attention to your sourcing and the projects? I mean, Patrik, you have this sustainable project, which is also a very great way to demonstrate how like one farmer, one roaster work together. So does this play any role in being a recognizable, successful brand on top of just doing great and right things, which needs to be done in the industry? So how about the sustainable sourcing? How does that, where did it come into your projects, and how does that affect? Is it really important for the brand?
Is that for me now? Is everyone waiting for me, or I didn't realize we had an order in this? Sorry for that. Well, I mean, it's the foundation of what this industry is built on, right? Then there is a lot of misunderstanding for what I think is truly sustainable when it comes to sourcing in general. There's a lot of different ways to do it, right? And I think there is, this industry, at least I think a lot of people with strong opinions about those aspects in this industry probably don't have the insight they actually need to have those opinions. But I mean, in the end of the day, if the farmer is happy, the farmer is happy. The way April is approaching sourcing is very simple. We try to find very good coffees. That's always priority. So when we trade coffee from a partner, we trade from that partner 2 seasons before we visit them in person. And that's really just to be able to stay objective and make sure that they can live up to the quality standards we're looking for. throughout that process, we simply pay what the farmer is asking us to pay. We never had a price negotiated since we started, more or less. We just accept the price they want. And if we don't feel it correlates with the coffee we're buying, we're simply not buying the coffee. But we're basically structured around 5 farmers, more or less, across the world, quite specifically. A few additional coffees, because we are growing, it's hard to plan exactly, but about 90% of our coffee today is what people refer to as direct trade, in whatever way you want to define that. In our case, it's basically sample price, lot decision is made directly with the farm. And then we use a third logistical party that we have chosen to take home the coffee and warehouse the coffee in Europe. And then we basically order coffee as we go to manage cash flow. But yeah, we're trying to make it as transparent as possible. The sustainable profile product is an interesting one because it started out of very early on in April. Like, we're still tiny. I mean, we're a tiny little roastery, right? But we were very, very focused on just the best stuff we could find from the farm. So we would go and buy 20 kilos of geisha, 30 kilos of SL28, very specific small lots from a farm in Costa Rica called Boca Sol. And I, by chance, before I visited the farm, met Alejo, the farmer, which I believe Onyx is buying from as well, if I remember correctly. At least we both had the COE lot from the SL28. No, I met Alejo randomly in Bordeaux in France. And we did a podcast together, and live in that podcast session, I asked him, is April creating any value for you as a farmer? And then basically in front of everyone, he said no. And, that was really interesting for me to hear, right? And it was kind of a wake-up call. April was this douchey roastery that knocked on the door of the farmers and said, hey, I'm going to buy the best coffee you have. I'm going to pay whatever you want. But we may just buy 100, 200 kilos from you, right? And the reality in that equation is that it doesn't make any sense. So because of him, we started to buy a wider range of his coffees, basically. So we buy the micro nano lots, and then we buy a larger farm lot, more or less. And we increased purchasing from his farm alone with about 10 tons within the first 2 years, only on that second product, right? And we wouldn't have had that if it wasn't for him, right? So a lot of it is just listening to the producers you work with, right? But I think we are a bit more quality first. I know our farmers very well. We're personal, but we have farmers every season that we basically stop working with because the quality isn't what we want, right? So we're maybe a bit more hardcore in that approach than other roasters would be. But luckily, the farmers that we do choose usually always have some lots that we like to work with. So we always end up buying a small amount, but quality first to some degree in the way we do stuff. Yeah.
That sounds great. Jon, how do you approach the sourcing, and where is the sustainability place in your branding?
Yeah, it's such a huge question because there's so many avenues for sourcing. One thing early on that we sort of decided was that we weren't going to pigeonhole ourselves into one kind of category, one sort of marketing term, certification. Take your pick of whatever makes you feel good when you're buying a coffee. That was just not going to end up being a priority for us within coffee. My guess is this whole panel will probably echo what Patrik said. I think quality was always the leader in what to find first. And then it was started as a quality first initiative, and then it became sort of a maturation process for us where we, in the same way, buying someone's top 1% of coffee from a farm is actually not hard. Finding really nice coffees is actually the easiest part of the sourcing job. At that point, it's just money. So if you have money, you can buy really nice coffee. To me, that is, for good or for bad, that is not the struggle. The struggle is to find a large volume of really nice coffees that are consistent that you feel that like raise the floor. You know, for the first half of our company's existence, we were sort of obsessed with raising the ceiling, right? It was sort of this, you know, 6 or 7 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, when you started seeing all these processing methods happen, or new varieties being grown in countries that were never bringing that. And usually that was from green buyers, probably like all ourselves. I know I'm a coffee seed mule for half the countries where we bring plants to different farmers. But you know, before then we were always obsessed with raising the bar, right? How do you make a 91 a 91.5? How do you make it a 92? Like all this obsession. And I view that now as a bit of an immaturity in the industry. I think that the concept of like true sustainability is actually raising the floor, not raising the ceiling. The ceiling is pretty high. Like if you have money, you can buy really nice coffee, and you know, some may roast it better than others. You can figure out what roaster you like, but at the end of the day, that's not the tough part. So our approach has been to, you know, lead with quality, to have an understanding that we're never going to buy, you know, future harvests from farmers until we set foot on the farm and cup it. That minus 2020 and COVID, which all rules didn't apply here. But normally that is our rule. But there is an assumption that we are going to buy it, and we then hold them to that expectation. And the goal is to pay, like Patrik kind of talked about, you pay what that's worth. And then for us, we just took a stance from the beginning to basically publish anything that we purchase, whether that's from a farmer, whether we're wiring money directly to a producer, giving them cash, or maybe it's just buying spot coffee from an importer, that we just need to make that known. Again, like my first answer, out of frustration for just trying to learn from the industry. You know, when I first started roasting, before there was honestly forums like this or podcast, it was a very secretive industry. I was always trying to get information, trying to learn, just flying to Colombia and traveling around, trying to learn the industry, as many of these probably have. And it was so frustrating. Everyone was very secret. I didn't know what to pay for coffee. I didn't know what to pay when it was nice, when it wasn't nice, how to say no. And all these things we just had to learn as time went on. And we just decided quickly that, you know, if we just publish it all, that can be our quote unquote certification. I don't need to prove that we are nice people. I don't need to take a picture with some child from a village and post it on Instagram so that like my friends can feel good about it, or our customers can think we're doing good in the world. Like we can just publish it, have real data, and any moral filter that you want to view that data, you can do, right? That's the great thing about math. There is no morals with math. We're going to post what we pay. We're going to buy for quality and let the chips fly kind of where it's at. So that's our approach.
Uncompromisable. Thank you, Jon. Jon, I also traveled quite a lot recently to Origins.
Yeah, I have. I would say I always, like before Drop Coffee as well, I did my very first coffee trip. So yeah, for me, it's like, as I said, it was so much focusing on only quality, like mirror all of us, like we come from that, you know, the passion, that's where it started. It didn't start with passion about making the coffee production more sustainable. Like it started with flavor and the quality and curiosity on that. And for me, it was like I started traveling early on and going to farms, getting more understanding about the industry and how it was working. But still, like after many years of traveling, I found myself with like, I yet don't know, like every year it is, you know, it's new politics, it's new working conditions at the farm. It's like so many structures that are changing, and us going there for a day or two or even 5 won't make a big difference. And we don't know, like I couldn't say that we know exactly what to what to look for even. Like I could look for the things that I knew I wanted to look for, but not in any neutral way, so to say. So what I did was that, yeah, it's now 7 years ago, I just decided that like everywhere, because I saw those, like you sell coffee on the shelf, you're trying to create like, a more sustainable world, and you're trying to like produce a coffee you're really proud of, and roast it and brew it how you want to. And then you yet don't know what the situation is on farm level or even in the region, or what's what the situation is this year. So since 7 years, I decided that I want to travel everywhere we're buying from. So that meant like going from maybe 12 origin to buying from 5 origins, and just like cutting it down and starting from scratch in a way. And of course, it was like a checklist, just like on my economy list year on year. It's like, where can I go that we have bought from, and try to buy from there. And that just came from me, that I couldn't look myself in the mirror, that I just felt like, okay, I've been to some of those farms, but now I don't really know. So combined with that, I wrote up impact report or sustainability impacts papers together with a lawyer in UN, worked with import and export. And I think that's the most, like, I felt really small going for it. I said like, yeah, I've been to all of those countries many times, and still I don't know how to measure it, what to look for, and so on. And she helped me to put it down, like more like what I can measure and what I can impact in kind of like a table. And that's nothing that we do share with everyone. That's only for our internal, as to second what Patrik and Jon is saying, like it's so it's so tricky that the end consumer would understand what sustainability even means. At the same time that for everywhere you go, and everywhere like you go back another time, and a third and a fourth time, you see that you actually can make an impact, and you can measure that impact. Like sustainability is not a made up word. There are things that we hands-on can do. So another thing, like as a part of that, is the coffee price crisis. And as Jon, just like, it's not that we are paying magical prices for the coffees that are, but we're sharing every year what we are paying for the coffee, and on every single box going out of the roastery we write the FOB price, so it could be comparable with the sea market. And that's not like, it's not the the most complex optimal way, but it raises an awareness with our customers about like, why is this costing more? What is the difference here? And it's not a secret, and it should be shareable. And if it's something you're doing things better and not worse, so to say.
This is so great. Just a quick question to all of you on top of this, and your customers, do they even pay attention to how you approach sourcing? Do they even care?
I can jump in. I mean, obviously not all of them, but yeah, quite a large portion. I mean, I would say that we're fielding, dozens and dozens of emails a day answering questions. A lot of the times just connecting the producer to the customer, which is the best answer, right? It's so great to just forward the email on to the producer and then let them ask their questions, and really make those connections there. But I would say, because our customer is the industry itself, there's already an indebted interest into that side of the business. So, to talk with coffee professionals all day long about the ins and outs and the real details of sourcing is sort of half of what we do. And that part is a real pleasure, because it's not I mean, it is the consumer needing to be educated about some of the price per coffee. I think that's like very important and honestly creates large global change. But I know for us, like our transparency initiative has been used, at least to our knowledge, more from producers than it is from customers, right? It's the fact that you know, the neighbor of say a Guatemalan producer doesn't know what his other neighbor's coffee is selling for, right? And maybe feels that he's growing the same varieties in the same climate with the same cup score, yet he's selling to an importer for 30% less, right? It starts to create these benchmarks for producers to have an understanding of, oh wait, maybe I need to evaluate what my margin should be, what my value is. And sometimes it doesn't work, right? That the neighbor's coffee is shitty, and that's okay, right? Because there are all coffees for all sorts of people. But the point is that there should be some benchmarks there, because there's so much secretiveness with how to equate a cup score or a quality of coffee within one region of a country. And that information is not made public a lot. And so, yeah, I don't know if that totally answers your question, but I think fielding that to understand, like in our instance, what their coffee would go for in North America would be really important to understand, especially if they're selling to a lot of North American roasters, right? Just having that out there becomes helpful.
Anyone else? Does they even care about the sustainable sourcing you're doing?
I think I see a very clear shift that, like when you talk about producers rather than what kind of roast you're doing or putting your label on it, rather talk about the actual coffee and the name of the farm, the name of the producer, that it does make an impact in reflecting over, you know, who's producing what. And it's boring to refer to wine, but wine is an industry that already have that, I think. And I definitely see a difference in just communicating farm name and producers and flavor based on that than to communicate, you know, a single roast big or who roasted it or to what roast level or to, yeah, like even I'm sorry my language, but like even worse, being a blend where it's even trickier to pick out what coffees are actually in there, to make the consumer like really think about like what coffee am I drinking? Why does this one taste as it does? So I think that awareness can be communicated. I wish that we did it in a better way. I wish that the producer had more say than it was our like how we perceive that the farm is looking and so. So it's a lot of work yet to be done, but at least that customers are actually like knowing that, wow, the coffee from Dom Pepe in Terrasu is coming back, and I love this one last year. You know, that it's not, you put the spotlight where it should be, and the one who actually made the most impact on the coffee. That makes an impact. More than I would say that with all of the stories that we try to share on when we actually do something concrete. I think that the broader spectra on talking about coffee producers and farms is what made the biggest shift in customers' mind.
Thank you, Joanna. I think Patrik explained pretty well about the whole sustainable project and the whole idea. So maybe I could jump into a different area, absolutely different question, which is competitions. Let's talk competitions. I mean, all of you are highly involved in competitions, and obviously it's a great self-development, but then bringing back to how your participation of your team and all those wins and all this showing up, you know, in like national and world competitions, how does that affect, on your opinion, your brand? Does it really affect it much, or is it just a entirely different thing? Like, on your opinion, what's the effect? Joanna, maybe we'll start with you. Like, you've been multiple times Swedish roasting champion. So.
Yeah, I've been, and I think I'm a bad example in how to market with it. So I've been placing second and third and fourth in the world in roasting. I'm extremely proud about it. But I've been struggling to marketing. Like I just felt like, no, okay, that's just something I'm doing, and now I didn't really win, and so I don't think I am the the leading example on how you can use competitions in marketing. I do think it has done a heap load of work for the culture within the company. That we have always had a culture in competing in barista competition, like be that barista, Brewers Cup, and so roasting, and that we've set really had a internal rule that is like we only serve coffee in the way that we are proud of it. Like we don't roast it differently for a competition. We don't go into try to please judges or so. So we did it very much for ourselves and maybe for our self-confidence, I guess, in some way, and trying out our ideas. And for every competition that we are in, we learn immensely much, like so much. You develop the way you're thinking about coffee, and you challenge yourself in the way to do it most efficiently. And also you try if it actually is, so to say, true with really skilled tasting judges. So I think for for internal purpose, it is absolutely phenomenal. For marketing, I think you can do more. I would also say of the perspective as a business owner, that is a very expensive marketing tool, like having a barista competing in a barista championship, and you want to do well on on an international level, like that is cost some. That's a lot of hours of training, that's a lot of equipment, that's a lot of expensive coffee, that's a lot of skills. So like it's nothing that you just do. Like it takes a lot of commitment for the one competing, but as a marketing tool, I am challenged to think like if it's actually worth it or not.
Thank you. Jon, how about you? I mean, your team was doing a great job in this, and that apart, did that affect much the recognition of the brand?
Yeah, I do. I think it can help add validity a little bit to the brand. I think, especially at the beginning. I know for us, when we first started roasting, Arkansas is not known as the coffee culture center of the world here. And so, sending samples out to cafes and our friends, even then, it was like a lot of times they'd get rejected before they were even cupped, things like that, especially at the beginning. And so there was an added value to, I think, a validation a bit in the industry. But I think more so it was kind of driven by helping the culture within our team and our staff. I mean, we hired a lot of talented individuals, and we wanted them to be able to express themselves, to grow, to have something to say to the industry, which is usually what competition is for us. It's less about the coffee, to be honest, and more about the script or what we're trying to say that we see in hospitality at the moment. And that is a really big microphone to say that to the coffee industry. So yeah, I think I don't think there can be a bit of shame with like going with competition, I think, within at least people that compete a lot, as if they're trying to rise to some sort of coffee celebrity status, whatever that actually means, or something. But I do think the positive side of it is that it is a very large forum to speak to people who touch a lot of lives, right? Like cafes are the busiest hospitality branch in the world. So we are seeing people all the time. And so that actually does give us quite a large voice to make positive impact, to share our feelings, to share like what we think is happening, whether it's about coffee, about agronomy, or maybe just about the service industry in general. So yeah, I think it's important in that aspect.
Thank you.
I second that a lot, Jon. Like it's a lot of what it's been about, like trying your vision and ideas, and like really trying a concept and see if it's working or not, and see where you have a loud microphone and you can impact and challenge and make a shift. So true.
Patrik, you went even further with this. I mean, this athlete program is a fantastic opportunity for many people around the world to learn from you in competitions. But again, that aside, this community part aside, does it help the brand somehow to be recognized? Or they rather look for you as, you know, like second world best or like world best brewer, or they would rather look for, you know, support from April as a recognizable company? So what is it more? Is it more you as a competitor, as a professional, or is it also a brand?
I think there's many different answers to that question, right? And I think me and Joanna have something in common in terms of competing in Sweden, right? And I think we both know that Sweden as a country don't give a fuck. I'm sorry for my expression, but you know, it's kind of true. Like the Scandinavian culture and winning coffee competition is like, who cares, right? Both the States and Australia is quite different market, China as well. So I think it depends a bit, like nationally, it depends on where you are. Internationally, I think for it to really make a difference, you have to win. Like second isn't good enough. From actually getting some financial value from it, I don't think April got much traction after me placing second that we didn't have before. I didn't feel a direct difference. Competing also, as Joanna has been kind of saying, is for me it's a lot more about just getting better at coffee. And early on, and still, it was a way for me to stay inspired by the industry, because I feel that, I mean, the industry has a lot of different layers, but you know, backstage in a world competition, that's where you find the most passionate, most interested, most hardworking people. That's just the reality, I think. So for me, competing was more about like in my coffee life, the best time in the year is backstage in a world championship. So that's why I've been trying to get there. It doesn't have so much to do with anything else. And I mean, the athlete program we do now as well, which I mean, at least before COVID was a success. Let's see, everything is kind of on hold. I mean, we have 5 people in the world championship now, over 16 different countries, and we're gonna have some more when they're done. We're still waiting for national competitions, of course. I mean, that's costing us quite a lot of money. But it's also for us, I mean, it's more about giving back than anything else. I don't think there's no concrete financial value in that project. There's no concrete financial value in me competing. Is April better because we are competing? Yes, because I'm better because I'm competing. Maybe not so much because the industry likes us more. I'm not sure competing is the best way to be liked always. That can go in kind of different directions, right? But I mean, it's important to improve and make the stuff better, right? And I think in competitions, that's the platform for that. It's the very core of what we do, right? So I mean, we're gonna keep on competing for as long as I'm in coffee. But as Joanna says as well, I mean, I mean, if you look at just the World Brewers final last time, or any kind of final, if you look at the amount of people that are, you know, dedicated a full year financially to only try to win a competition versus the amount of people that are also running a company and dealing with other shit. I mean, there's a reason why the people that dedicate a year wins and the other people don't, because it's difficult and it requires a lot of money, right? Not discouraging any to compete because it costs money. You can do it in a much cheaper way as well, and everyone should compete. But financially, it's very hard to justify unless you win. There has to be other value. And for me, there's other non-financial value that is way more important and more than justifies us pushing a lot of money into competing, right? Does that make sense?
Thank you. Absolutely perfect sense. Okay, let's move to a different side of it. I'm wondering about having a brand store, like having a perfect coffee shop, or just having your own coffee shop. Like Joanna, for example, you mentioned that this is how you all started. It was more about people serving people and so on. But now, speaking of the brand as a roastery and a coffee shop, do you get a lot of visitors who are there because they are in love with a brand and with a roastery and just came to Sweden especially to try out your coffee or attend or visit the store? I mean, does the store today play a big role in the whole branding?
For drop coffee, I would say that in particular this year, my mind on this have shifted a bit. Before, I saw a lot of international tourists coming to the cafe, and they read about it and they heard about it. Like coffee, I think coffee tourism is a thing, or what you do when you go to a new city, that you go and you discover what it actually is like. Just like would go to a nice restaurant and search for cafes, even if I wasn't in coffee. So I think that like when that was just like no international visitors at all for a year, and stepping back to making a really good like local cafe has been beautiful. Like that atmosphere that we have right now, when people are just having it like coming in every second day, and they know the coffees and they are in the like loop of what's going on, and like nothing as beautiful as hearing a hospitality chat between a barista and a regular. Like it's fantastic, and that I think is bigger than any perfect or well polished coffee shop in in the world. That you create something for the area that you are in. For me, it's been a lot. Like it sounds like I'm not saying anything is working financially, but it's of course it needs to work financially, but also what you get with having a coffee bar is that you get the TDS measuring on your coffees every single day. You get to baristas that are dialing in the coffee and sending you feedback. You have the batch numbers on the roasting being logged, and you have you log what time the coffee is tasting the best after roasting, and you get that like ongoing feedback all of the time from your baristas, from your regulars. You see what coffees are selling good on the shelves, and like that is absolutely invaluable. And also I think to actually have, from marketing perspective, it's good to have a window somewhere physical where you can go and you can actually like touch and feel and smell and and talk coffee with somebody instead of just being online. And that is so beautiful, like more than I think you're able to do online. So for that reason, I am like, I always want to keep the coffee store. It is really expensive to have a cafe. Like it doesn't, it's tricky, like it's small margins. And in particular, if you want to make it look perfect and slick, I don't have a cafe looking perfect and slick, but now I've kind of settled with that I have it for the coffee quality and I have it for the atmosphere, but it's never going to be like the not this one at least. It's going to be the previous cafe I found where I can be and get out what I need from it. So
thank you. Patrik, you just opened the store quite recently. What were the main reasons for this, and on your opinion, how did it contribute to the brand of the roastery?
I mean, our store had absolutely nothing to do with branding or financial value whatsoever. We just needed something to do when COVID hit, literally, because we had the option of, like, a lot of people, what people did when COVID came initially here in Copenhagen, I guess in a lot of places in the world, is that they sent the staff home, basically, because a lot of governments were compensating financially. And I'm not a huge fan of sending people home to kind of sit for themselves and overthink stuff at a time where the world is going through, something pretty scary and highly unusual, right? So instead of sending people home, we kept everyone on the payroll and we built a store. Basically, it wasn't supposed to be a store. We were supposed to move office from my own apartment after 4 years of our first proper office. But then, this opportunity came and we thought, why not? I think I've been pretty clear. I think I've said in many interviews as well that I would never have a coffee shop. And I think that's, probably true still. And I mean, our version of a coffee shop is a terrible one for many reasons. Apart from the fact that the coffee tastes really good, because that's what we're focusing on, right? And that's, but financially it makes little sense. Is it good for branding? I mean, we're a Copenhagen brand, which at least the Copenhageners don't know, because we've been quite international from the start. So it helped us definitely connect with the local market a bit more. But then again, the local market is not our focus. So whether we need to do that or not can always be discussed. It's not a bad thing, but it's also, as Joanna says, it's unless you want to do a coffee shop that does a lot of other things than coffee, revenue-wise and financially, it's quite difficult. And April still just do coffee. So for us, coffee shops doesn't make sense. But I'm very glad that other brands are investing in it so that I have somewhere to go and drink coffee. So support everyone else doing it, but it's not our thing, and it's not for us.
And then now I can finally drop to Copenhagen and drop somewhere to buy some of your coffee without ordering it online.
That you could do, yeah, it's true.
Jon, and how about you? I mean, now the store and the roastery, do they even relate to each other much? Do they help each other? How does it work for you?
Yeah, I think for us, we have 4 cafes, and we are always sort of, if we build another one, we tend to sell one, because we kind of have found where the sweet spot is of what we can run. No, I've found it invaluable, to be honest. I think it's been a really incredible form of quality control, from aging of coffee to uses of coffee, to how other people are using our coffee, and then we adopt that and bring it back into the cafe to test it out. So I really love it. I also just like working in cafes. I think the culture of our staff, I think it's needed to be there, to be part of the community and not just to be shipping things out. I mean, still, 90% of what we roast is going to leave our state, and that's great. But we like to save a lot of the best stuff for in our cafe. We have our loyalty, and we like the culture that we get to create there, from a coffee drinking culture to a staff culture, and that none of that can happen, I think, without cafes. And then from a selfish personal standpoint, design and architecture is a big passion of ours, and so that allows us to really play with the food and beverage industry and how we can set expectations for coffee, not just that the coffee tastes good, but that it is completely emphatic all the way through, that the cups match the tables and the lighting, and that everything, that the whole scene is set right. Like that's very important to me, to set an expectation immediately when someone walks in the door, that there'll be something quality that happens, and then once you can meet or exceed that quality with the actual flavor profile, that's when something really special happens, right? I mean, you have to, in my opinion, and I think to most sensory science, you want to have an expectation set that is met or exceeded. And that takes design, in my opinion, to set that expectation so that you can then try to recreate that, right? So yes, I think it's been very important to us.
Thank you, amazing. I'm gonna have just one last question for you today. And this one is more about, the theoretical future or the past or whatever. It's about starting from scratch, starting from a lower. And it will be a different question to each of you because of a different context. And I'll start, Jon, with you. So you started Anonymous Coffee Roasters, and why? Why would you need to start a different project? What do you want to make differently there?
Yeah, we started Anonymous about 5 years before Onyx, and it still runs today. And it was, we started originally because I was just like anyone, like learning to roast, learning to source. And so I didn't want my name on it, right? Hence the name Anonymous. Yeah, we're very clever like that. So it was, we would roast for anyone and really cutting our teeth on everything, trying to learn what worked, what didn't, and spent a long time sort of writing out everything we loved and hated about the industry so that we could form Onyx. It just took us 5 years to actually get there. And now, and we're pretty open about this, Anonymous is the way that we can, it is the only way that we can do business with Onyx, because we can take a lot of risk and have a company to offset it if we make a mistake. And so when we buy lots of coffees and 1 out of the 10 lots we might pick don't cup to our quality standard, we can move that over to a different form and just roast and try to break even on it. If we have a miss roast that we cup on the cupping table, or if a coffee is aging poorly, or all of a sudden the moisture content's crazy, or all the things that happen to roasteries, right? And everyone starts to scramble on, what do? We just bought a quarter of a container of like something that like either we're going to compromise our ideals, or we're just going to probably put it in cold brew like every other roastery does. Like, this gives us an offset to actually do something with that coffee and stay honest. So we've kept both brands alive as that purpose, right? To keep to be able to purchase as we do allows us to hold Anonymous and keep our quality the same. And so, yeah, I'm a big fan of having a sister company or a brother company when you start a roastery, because I think if you are quality focused, it's too arrogant to think you won't make mistakes. Yeah, there's too many variables in coffee, especially as you grow. And you have to find a way to avert that risk if you're going to actually stay true to the quality bar that you set. So that's sort of the purpose of it. And I would advise anyone to start a second company like that.
So let's say tomorrow you start another one all over from scratch, a new one, just for the sake of starting. I don't know, what are the things that you would advise yourself? Where would you start from founding the brand perspective? So what would you do with a new one? Jon, it's still for you.
Sorry.
Starting a new one.
Yeah.
Where would it?
This would be a very long talk to list out all our mistakes that we've made. I think, to be honest, I would think more about quality of life. Starting a business is a lot of work. I've spent, almost 2 decades as an entrepreneur now in some form, and that can be exhausting. And when you are hustling and you are trying to do things and you're trying to make change, or you're just being whatever you're doing within your company to try to do, it is hard to turn it off, especially when you're married to your partner in work. And so I think for the both of us, if I was to change something now, to start over, I would be thinking through quality of life a little more. I think that would be important and would have saved, a lot of heartache over the past decade or so, to not be so focused on whatever sort of bar you've set for the industry or your company at the time, but to also be able to take time and breathe and to reflect, because the irony is that that tends to be when we make the best changes in our company, when we've had time to really not miss the forest for the trees, as they say, to not be so focused on these details on growth or on quality or whatever it is, that we miss the big picture. And sometimes that big picture, once viewed, is actually where success and quality and happiness and all the things that anyone that's tuning into this is going to want to achieve at some point. So yeah, I think taking some time for true reflection and being, intentional about it, right? Because that's not going to happen if you don't intend it. I mean, if you're an entrepreneur and as soon as you start, you will be all in. People joke I'm like an all or nothing person in everything I do. I can't have a hobby, and so I have to be intentional about carving out that time, or you just burn out, and quality will dip, the company will dip, relationships will dip. So it's important.
Thank you. That was deep. Patrik, for you, the question sounds slightly different. April is doing a lot. April is doing quite great source of media, and then it's a store, some products such as capsules, one of the best in the world in specialty, definitely the best one in Europe. I keep saying this to everyone. And then sometimes you are a multidimensional person. So let's say you start utilities, which is not April brand. So when is it that you start and you think, how do you decide if it should be connected to April as a brand or to make it as a different side product?
I mean, everything we do is very much connected to April. I think it's the the misconception about April initially, which is very much created by myself, as the fact that we're a coffee company. That was never necessarily the attention or intention from my side. It was more that I wanted to start a company because I wanted to get more control over what I was doing on a daily basis. Now, one can discuss whether that's a smart thing to do, if that's the goal. And I think there's a lot of different answers to that question, but that was at least my intention. And the way that I saw April from the beginning was as a quality stamp. And the reason why we're a coffee roastery was that I spent 6 years roasting coffee before. So that's what I basically knew that I could do to some degrees, if that makes sense, right? So I mean, that being said, it is very much a coffee company, but the idea has always been to make coffee taste better. There's always been a frustration, I think, from my own side that coffee in general isn't tasting better than what it is. I feel we have so many roasteries, we have so many coffee shops in the world, and still you go out and you drink more bad coffee than you do good coffee. Now, when I say bad coffee, I'm not referring to bad green coffee necessarily, or commercial green coffee, but I think it's time to discuss, different levels of variations of quality within the specialty industry alone, right? Because there is a range. It's not just specialty and commercial anymore. It's different degrees of specialty in all aspects of it: sourcing, roasting, brewing. And I mean, the reason why we did a few kind of coffee brewing gadgets and stuff is, one, because I competed and it made a lot of sense. Roasted coffee for a long time, sourced coffee for quite some time, and then frustrated over the fact that everyone used coffee brewers that were made in the 80s and the 90s. Doesn't make any sense, because we don't roast coffee the way we did in the 80s and 90s. I wasn't alive, so I don't know, but I assume that wasn't the case, right? So it came quite naturally, right? And then capsules is one of those things where you can be a bit, do the math and see that capsules is the fastest growing way of drinking coffee in the world. And then you can basically ask yourself, either one, I want to be a part of making that better and make sure that it's compostable, make sure that the quality is higher, or I think it's, a shit product and I don't want to deal with it. And I think, I'm curious. I try an espresso for the first time and I think, wow, this is really bad. How can we make this better? And then you think a bit about it and you realize there's no reason why you can't make that better. And it's the same when, you brew with a V60, you brew with a Kalita, and you realize there must be a way to make this better. Surely there is a way, or at least a way to make it more compatible with April's roasting, right? So in terms of, what we do is about making coffee that the team at April likes, right? So we never proclaim that we made the best brewer in the world or the best capsules in the world. We make stuff that we don't like or that we like. And if we don't like it, we don't do it, or we throw it out. Hearing about Anonymous, that's an amazing idea, Jon, I have to say. Like, that's fantastic. Everyone should have something like that, right? Because, as you say, a brand that is trying to only do quality is bound to lose more money than they can afford in wasted products, wasted coffees. I don't even want to. It's a good thing we don't have any massive investors at April, because they would kick me out a long time ago, basically, right? So I think, that's important. That the utility, the little clothing thing we do is because I want people to have work clothes in the roastery. And then it was a very simple question: should we buy that from someone else, or should we produce it ourselves? And at April, the answer is very easy. Why not do it ourselves if we can, right? So, I went to Seoul in Korea, and I, sourced factories the way we source coffee farmers. Reached out to the best guys I could find, did a 1 year of testing, and then we ended up with a little bit of clothing, right? So basically, quality is the same thing regardless of what you do. It really is. And for me personally, quality is a lifestyle. And I think if you want to do that all the way, there's no kind of shortcuts in that. So for me, it makes sense that April is running around doing things, and also because you realize very quickly that the idea of starting a company because you want more freedom is not necessarily true, because everything becomes routine. You're forced into a certain routine to optimize your financial side of things, basically, right? And for me as a person, I know that if April stays the way it originally started, then I wouldn't be around in April for very long, right? So then I have two options: either I leave April, which is possible, or I try to have April develop with me as a person, right? And yeah, let's see what comes, right? Still very much a coffee thing, right? Like the other things we do is mainly kind of for fun. But the funny thing is, you learn a lot about how we can do better quality in terms of coffee by doing other things as well. I think that's been really helpful for me. A random one, and I'm going to keep this short, but if you see the picture behind me, this is from Bojo, which is an indigo farm in Tokushima, Japan. And we opened up this little store, right? So we did two things, and you're going to like this, Jon, if you like furnitures. We work exclusively with a Danish guy called Finjul, which passed away quite some time ago. But basically, it's a way for us to explore different versions of quality. We went to Japan. We went to see how you farm dye indigo, and there's quite a lot in that process that we can take into our coffee to make that coffee better, right? So, for better or worse, and I don't mean this in a negative way, which I know it always comes across as a bit weird, but I don't find much inspiration in the coffee industry. Mainly because I also don't look for it. I find a lot of my inspiration in other places, in other industries, and that's also why we venture out and do the other stuff from time to time. That was about it.
Thank you. That's great. Joanna, for you, it's an entirely different type of question. So you are about to start a different startup right now. But then when life changes like this, you start to dream, what you're going to do when you grow older together. So how does your small coffee dream look like? In 10, in 20 years, in 30 years? What do you want to do in coffee? How does a dream look like?
Yeah. You tell me, Jane. So it's really challenging. Like I am expecting a baby in end of September. I am lucky enough to do so with my business partner and partner in life. So that's the good bit of it. But I also think it's so, like, on a more serious note, I I am 35 now, and I've been doing this for 12 years with Drop, and this is the first time kind of that I see the opportunity to make this all work. And I think that is like so much of physically being a woman and what you're able to do. I believe a lot in shared parenting all the way, and so but all the limits to the setup that we have ongoing, sourcing coffee in countries. Like the brilliant part was merging this together with COVID. That was great. So I didn't lose another year, but I do have I do need to rethink how I'm doing things in the future. And I'm so grateful for those, in particular the last 6 years, when I just been building really good relationships with few producers, and that is the time now I trust, and I'm grateful for the digital world and what we have there, and the real communications we are having, even if we don't see each other. I couldn't have done this if it was my first or second year of sourcing coffee. It simply wouldn't have worked without compromising on relationship and on quality. While now, it's a strength, and it's something like many of the countries that we do work with have another openness to inviting you into their families, to their home. Like you don't only work with one producer, one exporter. Like often you work with the whole with the whole family or a community even. And at this point, everyone is, happy for me and Steven and excited. So it's something that almost makes our relationship with the producers grow at this case. How I see the future is I'm still trying to convince my fiance that it would be a good idea to go to spend time in Central America and more be there for, that you actually do 5 months being based there and you travel out to different places. And I'm thinking about solutions and setups that is not how we done it before, but doing it differently. And that's one of the advices I would give, like if I was new in sourcing, it would be to go and spend a lot of time with few people. If you are not in their way, and if you're paying for yourself, and if you do everything of that, like you would learn a lot by going and spend time with a few different people. So but my intention is to just keep on buying from those wonderful producers I'm working with, and luckily I am in a position where they still have more coffee. Like I can still buy more of their products. And of course it's harder, when you don't visit for a year or two, that it can be compromises made on quality, or that you just are not synced. I would rather say that you're focusing on two different things. They may improve something that I do not taste in the final cup, and and that's a bit of the trust and the relationship. But it is a different for the year ahead, for sure.
Thank you very much for for actually continue to do what you do, not just dream about change everything right away. I want to thank you so much, Joanna, Patrik, and Jon, for today. It's been a pleasure to talk to you. It took us a bit more time than we planned. And thank you for your great advices and your passion in coffee industry, and for indeed creating one of the best coffee brands or coffee companies, coffee with high quality and standards. I highly appreciate. So on behalf of the whole coffee industry, thank you so much for doing that. A great job. And
I would say just to I would just like to underline for the participants, like with what Patrik said and like the way he's doing things, and just like actually go out and do it, like just try it. Most, like I was not an entrepreneur before I started, nor was Jon, I think, or were you? Like you learn and go out and catch your ideas and try them out.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for having us.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
I
And
think we're
thank
bye.
everyone for attending today. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Bye. Thank you, everyone.